Hi there, students. Ruse, deceit, subterfuge or chicanery. Okay, this video is dedicated to Ruse. So all of these involve trickery. These all involve getting what you want by tricky means, by use of tricks and deception, being perhaps a little bit dishonest. So let's see, a ruse. I think a ruse is a clever trick, and it is intended to deceive, while deceit is something that's more general. It's just, deceit is the act of misleading someone, getting them to believe something that's not true. Subterfuge is about strategy, about hiding what you really mean, what you're really trying to do. You look one way and then move that way. That's subterfuge. Chicanery, trickery and deception. Chicanery particularly being dishonest, manipulation, perhaps unfair tactics. So subterfuge, I think subterfuge is probably fair. A ruse is probably fair. Deceit is unfair and chicanery is unfair, but they're all on the limit. They're all on the edge. I think ruse and subterfuge are on the legal side, and deceit and chicanery have just moved down beyond that. So a ruse, a clever trick, a pretense, something intended to mislead. So I knew the security guards weren't going to let me in. They were standing by the door. So I smashed the fire alarm and used that as a ruse to get in, because when the fire alarm went off, the guards rushed off to see what was happening. Deceit. This is the act of deceiving, to deceive, it's the noun. Mislead somebody with falsehood, with trickery. Deceit is lying, for example. Is saying things that are not true. Subterfuge, a strategy used to evade a rule, to escape a consequence, to deceive somebody. And I think maybe my example of the fire alarm, this is also subterfuge. I think subterfuge, you're hiding what you're really intending. And then chicanery. Chicanery are tricks, but manipulation of people. You make such wonderful cakes. You wouldn't have one of your cakes available, would you? Chicanery is about unfair tactics. So let's see, the chicanery in the negotiation was apparent. Okay, so manipulation, but particularly in a legal or a political context. Political chicanery, that's very common. Subterfuge, to avoid detection through being clever. I use subterfuge to escape from the situation. Deceit is malicious intent. Yeah, the deceit in his words was evident. His act was a clever ruse to get the girl to go out with him. The girl drops her handkerchief and you've dropped something, and now she can talk to him. To mislead by creating false impressions. So a ruse, a trick, a stratagem, an artifice, a wile. Deceit, deception, fraud, trickery. Subterfuge, a manoeuvre, a ploy, a dodge. Chicanery, trickery, sharp practice or sophistry, clever words. So they're all talking about deception, but there's different nuance and different context. I think a ruse and subterfuge, there's very often cleverness. Deceit and chicanery are more malicious. So let's see. I think chicanery is more commonly used to describe clever, manipulative tricks, whereas deceit is a much broader term for intentional dishonesty. Chicanery, you're being very cunning to gain your advantage, whereas deceit, you're intentionally misleading someone. Chicanery is perhaps a higher level of sophistication, something that is more clever. Is a lot of intelligence in the deceptive behaviour. Deceit is just, again, more general. Chicanery is a more formal word, professional, legal context. The chicanery of the politician, the chicanery of the lawyer. Whereas deceit is a much more everyday word. So I created a fake emergency as a ruse to distract everyone so I could steal the cake. His entire business was built on deceit. This is fraud. It's the general act of deceiving people. Subterfuge. He used a hidden camera as a subterfuge to find out what was going on. And chicanery, the lawyer used legal chicanery to win the case. Chicanery, particularly in legal or financial matters. So a ruse is a specific trick, a specific ploy to mislead. Deceit is the general act of deceiving. Subterfuge is deception used to conceal a plan to achieve a goal. And chicanery is the use of often tricky, petty arguments, legal or financial trickery, following the letter of the law, not what it actually means. So, let's see, ruse comes from Old French ruse, the evasive movements of a pursued animal, trickery. From Latin, rusus, backward, to the contrary. Recusare, recuso, to decline, to refuse. Deceit from décevoir in French, to trick, to fool. From Latin, decidere, to catch, to ensnare, to beguile. Subterfuge, subterfugio in Latin, to flee secretly. Subter, under, and fugio, I flee. And then chicanery, from Middle French chicaner, and that itself though comes from German schicken, from Proto-Germanic skikijana, to order, to arrange. So he used a ruse to distract attention. They pretended to be lost as a ruse to gather information. His smile was nothing but a ruse to hide his feelings. I was hurt by her deceit. The politician's campaign was marred by deceit and scandal. He used subterfuge to trick his opponent into making a mistake. The politician employed various subterfuges to cover up his involvement in the scandal. She resorted to subterfuge in order to access classified information. The politician was known for his chicanery in manipulating the voting process. The company used chicanery to avoid taxes and increase profits. So let's see. Ruse. 6 informality, use anywhere. Deceit, 5 informality, use anywhere. Subterfuge. 6.5 informality, use anywhere. Chicanery. 6.57 informality, use in a semi-formal conversation, semi-formal writing, or something more formal. So, ruse, deceit, subterfuge and chicanery. Bye for now.